are now listening to a Super Breakdown production. Follow us at The Super Breakdown on all social media. Thank you.
Hi, I'm your host, Power.
And this is your boy, Triage.
Welcome to the Super Breakdown, where we're going to take your favorite heroes and villains, going to break them down and open up a whole multiverse of possibilities with 2 words and 1 question: what if? So Triage, what we got today?
Today we're going to be breaking down one of my personal favorites, the brother from beneath the sea, my son Black Manta.
All right. So, give a little backstory.
Oh yeah. So Manta first appears in 1967. That's how far back we're going, in Aquaman issue number 35. With the comic book characters, often different versions and different reimaginings of certain characters. Now, honestly, I'm usually against rewriting a character, but if we're doing it for the progress, I'm with it.
I feel that.
So, right. So, in the original version, Manta was a child who was captured. He grew up in Baltimore. He actually was captured and taken out to sea by a group of pirates, where he was forced to do deck work. He was repeatedly abused, both mentally, physically.
Yeah.
And left to do whatever they wanted him to do. And one day, while swabbing the deck, he saw Aquaman.
Yeah, out there
swimming with some dolphins.
Yeah, swimming with the dolphins. Now, this is back in what year again?
When he first appears, it's 1967.
1967. Now, for just off the rip, just from that start, like, you're out, you get kidnapped by some dudes on a boat, and you're forced to do whatever they tell you to do for years. Like, I can only imagine the type of irreparable damage that can do to a child. Now, from what
let alone you being a minority in that period of time.
So you at that period of time, like, you already feel like you got no help.
Right. And something else I'd like to point out with the whole thing with Black Manta, because here's another thing. People didn't even know Black Manta was black when you first saw him, because he never took off his helmet.
Oh,
and then it's like when he took it off, people were like, "Oh my God!" And it's like, "Yes, I'm a brother. Why do you think I call myself Black Manta?" So you got the dynamics between their look, where you got this black man in this suit, and opposed to this blonde-haired, blue-eyed surfer who's the quote-unquote king of the seas. So it's like when Manta realized that Aquaman didn't come to save him, he grew to hate the ocean and everything about it. And what would be the best way to conquer your fear than to control or take it over of what has tortured you or bothered you? Like someone who is an arachnophobic might look at spiders or own a spider, stuff like that. So like the best way for him to conquer his hate for the ocean was to conquer it as a whole. And he knew if he had to do that, he had to go through Aquaman.
Now, rewrites in the direction of progress. So, for him, we've seen multiple rewrites. We've seen, the first one that you were just talking about, him as essentially a civil rights man. To build on what you said, like, yeah, he's like, I'm a black man, I'm black, and so a big part of his thing was he wanted to take over Atlantis for the black people of his time. He wanted Atlantis to end up being a paradise and an oasis for black people. So that,
yes,
yeah, and I mean that leads down a whole other rabbit hole of his fight with Aquaman and Aqualad, and then the death of Aqua Baby. Yeah, like that, and that brings in a whole level of that. But then, I'm learning like another backstory for him later on down the line. I believe there's one where he's a treasure hunter. Then there's one where he's an autistic kid who's been locked up in Arkham, having experiments ran on him, and
yes,
just
touch on that one. So, I have had a few friends who have autistic kids, and I have seen it firsthand. And it takes a special kind of person to raise a child who has that type of energy and aura. I don't want to say anything like degrading or negative because, you know what I mean? Like, you know, your structure and your chemistry, that's nothing that you can help. So, and we've seen people who have these diagnoses do phenomenal things. So that's another thing too. So with Manta, it was supposed to be that he was an autistic child who would find extreme displeasure whenever his skin or body touched something made of cotton or wool. And then it was so disbothering that he wound up being locked up in Arkham Asylum for it. Mm-hmm. And as you know, if you ain't know anything about your Batman history, you know, Arkham Asylum, whatever you got, they're usually going to make it worse.
Exactly.
So while he felt extreme discomfort in that material, which probably the majority of his clothes, his bedding, and everything else was made out of, he found extreme relief in sub-zero temperatures. Yeah. Yes, and almost borderline pleasure in cold water. And because of this, the wards, excuse me, not the wards, yes, the hands that worked in the hospital, because Lord forbid, let's not forget that Arkham Asylum is a hospital. It is a hospital. It is not a prison. That is a very big misconception.
Yeah. Yep. It's supposed to be a hospital, not a prison.
So he wound up being strapped in and tied down, and that forced him to struggle and become more aggressive and more violent. I mean, if you have something that causes you pain over your body, and that you're restrained in it for years on end, like, once again, all that's going to do is give you more resentment or hatred towards said thing.
Yeah, so at that point, it's just adding salt to the wound already, on top of, you know, the experiments that they were doing on him in Arkham, you know, because, again, it's a hospital, but it's also an asylum, and as we all know historically, asylums don't really have the best reputation for treating mental illness, let alone curing mental illness.
Right. And like Holly Berry said in Gothica, I don't trust anyone that thinks I'm crazy.
Yeah. So then, you know, there's that, and then we end up seeing
that's to touch a bit on the second reimagining. Now, the third reimagining is actually my favorite.
Yeah, I like it because not only does it build the character, you know, give him an awesome, pretty much backstory, but it also helps build his rivalry with Aquaman a lot better and gives it like it makes it a lot more stable. It makes more sense, and it keeps the odds like essentially kind of even, and helps you. It pretty much helps build more stories going forward, and that's the one where in Black as Day, number 19, when he's a treasure hunter and a mercenary.
Yes.
And that itself is just a good. It's a great story and concept within itself. The way I see it, it's like yin and yang. They're the same but different. You know.
Oh yes.
And I personally love the build up. Love how they tie their fates together. Like going from, you know, correct me if I'm wrong. Pretty much he's a mercenary. His father and Arthur's father actually were actually working together. Pretty much they were looking to see if Arthur essentially had, you know, that Atlantean gene.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hired to steal his blood.
He got hired to steal Arthur's blood, and then within doing that, Arthur's father ends up having a heart attack from the attack and dying.
Yes.
So Arthur then blames Manta or David Hyde blames him for the death of his father, you know, not knowing what actually fully occurred. So he hunts him down, finds his
in the middle of a storm.
In the middle of a storm, hunts him down, and kills him, or at least what he thought was David Hyde, and which was in fact his father. And Manta, he comes up out of the water to see Arthur stand over his father's dead body.
Like Arthur jumped out the water and killed David's father with his bare hands. Like, now that's another thing too, man, because it's like, all right, I can get if I steal a car and I pull the person out of it, they have a heart attack, that's murder, I killed that person. Mm-hmm. But you know what I mean? That's a lot different between that person's son or father coming and killing my spouse in a fit of rage because of what I did.
Yeah.
Now
that's personal. That's an attack like that. That's personal. That's like, no, you will. But even then, it's accidental too, because his aim was to kill Manta. But within that fit of rage, first off, it was a storm, so he couldn't see.
Right.
Let alone, be able to make a conscious decision to stop. Like, let me double check, make sure this is the person that I'm actually want to kill. And and from that point in that moment, they're locked in a vengeful battle going back and forth. And I personally just feel like that is such a dope storyline, because then you can be in the middle of a story as a writer. You can be in the middle of a story, have Aquaman facing this villain, and then out of nowhere just have Black Manta pop up and end up crashing the whole fight. Now, next thing you know, you have Aquaman fighting Black Manta, fighting whoever he's, whether it be Orm, Ocean Master, or anyone else.
Right. And Manta actually is low key he's a very experienced diver. His suit is teched out with not only Atlantean gear, but gear that he has salvaged from other places, from his laser eye beams to his harpoons to his retractable blade in his right gauntlet. That's my favorite. I just think that shit's super dope.
Yeah, and I feel like I like that too, because then that also gives a bit of his suit a bit of that stingray feel as well. How stingrays have that hidden harpoon on their tail, so he has that hidden blade that when you least expect it, he can strike with. His tech is just absolutely bonkers, and he's highly intelligent too. He's a highly intelligent character and a very capable mercenary.
And then once again, in Black, that speaks so much more to me. That speaks more to the creativity and the devotion and the will to get shit done.
Yes, big time.
And to phase a bit to the current situation, that goes like to what Yahya Abdul is doing as his performance as Manta in the movies, which I think he's doing great.
Oh, absolutely. I feel like he's working that role and playing that role perfectly, and they're definitely building off of that last story. I mean, that is the way they're doing it, essentially, from that newer, Brightest Day origin story. His father, ends up drowning. It's slightly different because it wasn't directly Aquaman who caused his death, but it's, he blames him for it. Because actually in the movie, he actually does say, help me. Save, yeah, actually no. So I would say it was directly caused by Aquaman. Because he actually stops and asks Aquaman to help.
Like, please.
And he said no. You deserve. He's like, he said he gave him some kind of quote about the sea taking him. And the ocean fighting back. And
I'm like, you killed innocent people. You asked the sea for mercy.
Oh yeah, yep. That's exact. And I just feel like that was so smooth, and then for him to have to watch his father die, and to the point of be helpless while his father essentially died in front of him, and watch his father pretty much, sacrifice himself to save his son.
Right. And another thing that was also really interesting about that was the whole dynamic that happened before that. Was the whole thing with him telling him the story of his grandfather and him giving him the knife, and the knife having the Manta on it. And then like how his father was a soldier, one of the first stealth soldiers during the war, and how he was so good in the water. His team nicknamed him Manta. Like I thought that whole thing was super dope. And then like the country forgot about him, so he went back to the ocean, just savaging and scavenging and surviving off his will and his wits. And I was like, I respect it. All right, all right.
Yeah, because and then it gives the character depth.
And then the other thing I thought that was really cool is how, like, Manta, David actually ran up on him and attacked him. And he's sitting there standing over him like, oh, I've waited a long time for this. He's like, am I supposed to know who you are? And then they proceeded to start fighting, and he was like, listen, I scavenge the high seas. Like, this is my playground. You claim that you're the protector of it. And let's see if you really are. Like, you claim you're about that life. Let's find out.
Word. Like, I don't know, that just the level of authenticity he brings to character. Like, it didn't feel as if I was watching someone play a character in the movie. Like, it really felt like, no, like, this is a real beef. He has a real axe to grind with this guy. Like, the way he played the character was, he really embodied the person. Like, this is personal.
Yes.
All throughout the movie, from beginning to their first encounter all the way to the end, with their last encounter. And again, with in the movie, I love how they show the montage of, the Atlanteans are like, well, Orm's like, 'cause if I'm correct, he's hired by Orm to take out Arthur. And he's like, all right, well, here, I'm gonna give you these men that are gonna work with you in Atlantean tech. To the fact that he broke down and re-engineered that Atlantean tech and made it work for him.
Into his suit at that.
Into his suit. I will say, I felt like the Manta helmet was a little big on the suit, and the eyes are a little. I'll take it for a first draft. I'll take it because it still looked dope as hell.
Oh yeah. Listen, I got an image of that Manta tattooed on my shoulder. All right, I get it. So, but it's one of them things, like, when them eyes light up and, like, with the black of the suit, like, you wanted to know, like, you saw Arthur the second he saw them shits glow. He's like, oh, get out the way.
Yeah. Like, he knew. It's a statement piece. It's like, it's me when I'm here. You ain't gotta ask no questions. You ain't gotta wonder. You see the helmet, you see the eyes, you know who it is.
Right? But even then, just from, like, the moment you first see him, like, when he takes the helmet off and he's like, how was the stress speaking disabled? And they're like, yeah, we're running dark. But the captain's like, oh yeah, but they've heard it. Someone's gonna come. He walks right up to him and was like, listen, I'll make you a deal. I won't tell you how to captain, and then you don't tell me how to pirate, and then runs him through. I was like, oh, he's gangster.
No, it was, oh man, that was too smooth. Thank you for bringing that scene back to me. I'll be honest, wanna know what that scene gives me vibes of? Not to switch gears, but that scene right there always gave me Eric Killmonger, Michael B. Jordan, Eric Killmonger in the museum with Claw when he's talking to the the museum
curator.
The curator. Yeah, that scene gave me such vibes like that. Like, if you compare those scenes, not the actors, but just the energies from that scene is like, I know what I'm doing. You may know what you're doing, but I know what I'm doing. You can't tell me, and you can't even think or fathom what I got going on in my head or what I can do. I am more than you could ever think. So, don't tell me how to pirate, and I won't tell you how to captain. Slink, done.
Right.
Like, the power in those scenes, and just being able to portray that power is, and again, same thing, you know, Michael B. Jordan as Killmonger, being able to portray that knowledge and power into those characters is absolutely stunning to me. So I hope that they carry on with him, you know, and build more into his story, because he has a lot more, like, because we see him, you know, we see him in Young Justice, and we see the way they play him in Young Justice.
Actually portrayed by, I can't think of my son's name. It's the dude from The Walking Dead, the one that's King Ezekiel.
Kari Payton?
Yes.
Yeah, Kahari Payton. Yeah. So, I don't know. I just feel like his portrayal in Young Justice is, I don't know. It's smooth.
It's almost regal.
Yes. It's just the power. Even then, again, the character he just like the character's aura is just of power and consciousness, and like he's like, I am who I am. I know what I can do. I know what I can't do. I know what I will do, and best believe you ain't gonna tell me what I can or can't do.
Yeah, like that one scene where he runs up on Black Beetle, and he was like, oh, like when they're arguing with the Reach, and the Reach is like, oh, we can make slaves of all of you if we want, and Manta's like, there's no agreement that exists that makes a slave out of me. Beetle's like, oh, there's no agreement that exists that guarantees the life either. He's like, I guarantee my life on my own. I was like, once again, I was like, okay, man. I was like, let me find out. Yo, Manta's a goon, son.
He is. He absolutely is. You know, and see, the interesting thing is, like, Kari Payton also plays Aqualad, too.
He does.
Yeah, he also plays the voice of Aqualad, who also ends up becoming Aquaman, who is also actually Black Manta's son.
And see, that right there, that's what I like to, that's the direction I would like to see them go forward, like as like a what if. I'd like to see them like explore that.
I definitely need to see Jason. I would love to see Jason Hyde eventually on the big screen. Calderon. I would definitely love to see him on the big screen eventually. So, because at first I was thinking, I was like, how are they going to do that? How would they do that? How would they bring him onto the big screen? You know, and for that I had to do a little bit of digging on my own, which brought me to, was like, all right, well, so they would have to clearly, you know, man and woman, when they love each other very much, you know, so they have to introduce they have to introduce his mother, Lucia. Now, I'm like, all right, so how are they gonna do that? Because Calder is Atlantean. Hyde,
half anyway.
Half Atlantean, yeah, half Atlantean. Hyde, Manta is not Atlantean at all. So I'm like, so they have to introduce his mother, which I'm like, how are they gonna do that? But now I'm thinking about it, they absolutely can. Lucia is actually from, she's from Zebel. It's the lost city of exiles. It's actually where Muir is from. Right. Muir is actually from the exile tribe. So they've already introduced that.
That was a whole thing when that got revealed too in the comics. Arthur was like, what?
Now I personally find that really, really interesting to me, because I'm like, they already have essentially everything they need to really start to build up for Calderon, because the best thing about it is the fact that they can end up having that father and son rivalry, and I personally find that so dope, because in Young Justice, not only does Jason Hyde become Aquaman down the line, he also had a brief stint as Black Manta.
Right.
So I find that really fun. I find that super fun to play around with, because by doing that adds a whole another like deep aspect to it, into David Hyde's hate for Arthur Curry, because now he blames him for the loss of his father. Now we turn around and it's like, now I'll be like, oh, now you took my father, now you take my son too, because Arthur takes Jason or Calderon underneath his wing, which he ends up becoming Aqualad.
Right. And Calder didn't even know his true parentage, but Arthur did. He kept it from him.
Yes. Yep. And that's where, and that's what ends up happening. That's why he ends up. Well, it doesn't work that way in Young Justice. Young Justice, it's like a whole mission to infiltrate the light. So there was that whole betrayal between Calderon. He betrays he betrays the team. Pretends to betray the team, and then starts working for his father. And then, if I remember correctly, Hyde didn't know. Manta didn't know that he was his son. He didn't know that until, I'm trying to remember. There was a whole scene in Young Justice where there's a giant final battle, season finale kind of battle going on in a quarry or whatever, and so and that's when Calderon actually ends up flipping, and it's like, oh, you thought I was working for you, father? Like, wait, hold on, what you mean, father? Hold on, it was like, it ended up becoming a whole Star Wars scene in that moment real quick, but reverse. So I just feel like that, if they brought that to, we know with DCEU's reputation, they're not going to. It's sad. It's sad to say, but they're not going to. It's just simple as that. They're not gonna. Because,
but like I said,
right,
something that would have to take place. Them doing Calderon and doing Injustice, that's something that has to take place over like the course of like a decade or decade and a half, because like the way I see it going, just like in taking Young Justice and feeding off that, and then like comparing it to the Aquaman movie, like in my mind it would, because as we know in the comics, Manta does get Arthur back for killing his father by killing Aquaman's son. But his son was 3 years old. Yeah, and I don't see major motion picture movies doing that. So I think where I see the angle going is that.
I don't know, bro. I don't know. I can see them if they.
Come on, man. We're killing 3-year-olds, and the entire room's gonna cheer. I'll cheer because it's comic accurate, but everyone's gonna go, no, oh no, oh my God, we brought the kids to see this. Oh no, we gotta go right now, and we're complaining later.
But it could be one of those all-screen deaths, or even then, because we see them doing all these offshoots, from the movies, they could have that be in its own separate, on its own separate show that ties in to, into the movies, or even then the way they do the scene, or even then, no, this is how they can do it. Manta does an attack on Atlantis, starts destroying stuff, actually breaks through the barrier. Arthur's out fighting, whatever. but castle starts crumbling. Mira's running for safety, whatever. But that strain that ends up, she's out there fighting. But that strain that she ends up putting on her body, the child ends up dying in her stomach.
Oh, like she miscarries.
She miscarries. So they can most certainly run it that way if they wanted.
Yeah, that's still pretty fucking dark.
It's still dark, but you won't actually be seeing you're not going to be able to get that screen time with the child or with the child actor to make a connection with the child actor. You know what I'm saying? It's just implied that due to her stress, the child didn't make it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Atlantis
Or
Arthur's bloodline loses its heir. Yeah. No.
Now that I'm thinking about it, what they could do is with all the stuff going on with Mira's actor right now, they could just end up just kill Mira off.
Listen, I say replace her with Emilia Clarke.
I agree. I 100% agree. But I mean, if they wanted to, they really when they get to that point, they could end up doing that. They can just kill off Mira, and unfortunately with having her be with child, so that just adds extra salt to the wound for Arthur. It's like, yo, Manta, not only did you kill my wife, but you killed not only did you attack my city, kill mad of my people,
subjects,
mad of my subjects, and then you killed my wife in the process and my unborn child.
Oh yeah,
if that's not something that will put a character like Arthur over the edge, and right off the way they're portraying Arthur in the movies with Jason Momoa, he already has a bit of a temper.
Right.
He already has he's already on the edge. I really don't want to do this, but whatever, I'm going to do it, blah, 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 this and that. He's already on that verge of getting pushed over. The Ocean Master is still alive. His brother Orm is still alive. So, now, that could be a situation where they could. I know Orm at the end is Ocean Master. He's still a villain, Aquaman villain, but they can use that to pull a storyline where they end up teaming up, because now Orm's because Orm always, even though he's a villain, he's always been an Atlantean loyalist. He loves his people. He loves Atlantis. He will go as far as he needs to go in order to protect his people.
Correct.
So that would already be a nice storyline there for one, Orm to be verbally abusive to Arthur, because well, if I was king, this would never have happened. Black Manta is a villain that you made before you became king. You made this enemy before king. You brought this enemy to our doorstep.
Technically, they both made him, because if Orm had never hired him, he'd have never run into Arthur. And then he gave Arthur the tool. Then he gave Manta the tools to go after Arthur.
Oh, true. This is true. You're right. Oh yeah, because that whole what Manta was doing from the start when he first encounters Arthur was because he was hired by Orm to do all that, because he was trying to start problems he's trying to make it look like they needed to go to war with the surface.
Exactly.
So he had Manta going around doing stuff that made it look like the surface was trying to start a problem with them. You're right. I remember now. You're right. He can still be verbally abusive to his brother, though. He can still be verbally abusive to his, no, that's his older brother.
Shit through this whole fight.
Yup. And then, actually, that could be a way that he can... that could be a way that he could trick Arthur into letting him go, and to be him yo, listen, let's team up. Me and you. He attacked my city as well as yours. Remember, these were my people before they your people. I was running this shit before you came along and fucked everything up. You then got your wife killed. You then got your unborn child, my nephew, killed.
Heir to the throne.
Heir to the throne. There's no heir to the throne of Atlantis now. It's me and you and our mother. Now that can also end up starting a whole nother vacuum of power in Atlantis too, knowing that it's just Arthur now.
Right. And then people can start questioning that, like, oh, is he even fit to lead?
Mm-hmm.
If, we had this outsider come in and do all this damage because he's got an axe to grind with the half-blood king.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, at the end of the day, they're like, oh, at the end of the day, we never had these problems when Orm was leading us. We never had.
Orm told us this.
Yeah, exactly. He was right. He told us that all this shit was going to happen if we followed him. And we followed him. And now look. So that'll be good. That'll be a good thing there too. They're start playing on that power vacuum, But then we can end up seeing,
right.
As Arthur and Orm are teaming up together to take down Black Manta, we see Manta inevitably betray Arthur again.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And again, like that's gonna grow even more hate. Or that's a hate that is gonna grow for him because he's very, very bloodline and lineage, like a big guy on heritage. So the fact that he's like, you got my nephew killed on top of your queen, who I wanted to be my queen, because Orm. I'm not gonna say he loved Mira, because he didn't. It was a way for him to gain the exile's trust by marrying.
Well, that
mm-hmm.
I think it was that, and it's also one of those things like it's that Killmonger mentality. Like like when Claude took his girl hostage, it's gonna be okay. Bang.
Mm-hmm.
Like, nah, in the moment you're not my lady no more, you're in the way.
This is true. Yeah. Yeah.
And like he said, I've waited my entire life for this. Sometimes fate only gives you one chance, and it's like, do you let that shit slip by, or do you seize that shit with both fucking hands?
Yeah. And see, it's funny that we're comparing this so much to Black Panther, because when Aquaman was in the process of being released, it throughout all its promo, it mirrored Marvel's Black Panther so heavily. If you take the trailers and you play the trailers for the movies side by side, the first trailer for Black Panther, the first trailer for Aquaman, and you play them side by side, it's really close. Really, really, really close to being similar. But now, the story's flipped. You have the full-blood Rifle King. Now, in Black Panther, you have the full-blood Rifle King. He's holding it down. But then you have the outsider family member, that the half-blood coming in to claim the throne. But as in, like, what I mean by flipped is like the antagonist and protagonist are flipped in that sense. But essentially, it's the same thing. Because even look at it. You look at the battle between T'Challa and Eric, and you see the fight between
Arthur and Orm.
Arthur and Orm. Technically, Arthur is the rightful king of Atlantis. He's the firstborn.
He's firstborn.
Exactly. And T'Challa is the rightful king because he is the king's son.
Yes.
They both lose. The rightful kings lose and are thought to be dead. Just to be turn around and be assisted by the love interest and help to go forward, gain, this newfound power, this newfound hope from their ancestors to then, again, wage a essentially civil war to retake the throne from their half sibling or family member, half blood family member.
Yeah, I see your point.
Storylines are damn near identical.
I did not catch that.
And on top of that, the setting. The setting is a highly technologically advanced city that's hidden away with a whole nother race of human beings. They have this character in the comic books. I feel like if they stick to the Brightest Day origin and storyline, it's gonna be. I think they can do great with it. We see him in the Judas Contract. We even see him in Flashpoint. Actually, we see him in the Flashpoint Paradox.
Yeah,
and he murks Deathstroke.
I don't listen, man. I fuck with Manta. Manta's one of my top favorite characters, but I don't think he's killing Deathstroke.
He got the better of him. It wasn't like a bit of a fair fight. There was a lot of pressure going on. The whole world, like Atlantis was about to. Aquaman and Atlanteans were going to war with the Amazonians and the surface dwellers. So it was a lot of pressure. The whole world was about to be sunk by Atlantis, either sunk by Atlantis or nuked by the humans. And Manta popped I'm gonna say this. He popped up and caught Deathstroke off guard. He popped up out of the water. He tried to kill Lex, because Lex was the one leading the humans. He tried to kill Lex. Deathstroke stepped in the way, did a quick little battle. Manta got the better of him real quick. Optic blast. Like man was playing Marvel vs. Capcom. Optic blast. Murder. Hit him with that Marvel vs. Capcom. Spam my boy with that shit. And he died. He died. And that's another thing. Like that tech is so damn strong. Like his heat vision can kill metas. It can kill metahumans.
Right.
It can burn through metahumans like a hot knife to butter.
But here's the thing. Like once again, if you're caught up on Young Justice, like I know you are, as we just learned, the Atlanteans technically are metahumans.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. The Atlanteans are technically metahumans. We're not gonna spoil it for anyone who hasn't caught up, but if that doesn't entice you, I don't know what will.
If you're not watching Young Justice, you're lacking serious shit in your life.
Yeah, this season of Young Justice is absolutely nuts. Whoever's writing this needs to walk up to the DCEU writers and smack them. This
is how you get
with the pimp powder, everything. Pimp powder on the front and back of the hand, hit him with the back of the hand and with the front. This is how you write superhero shit. This is how you write a superhero story.
There needs to be a gunfight after that, so somebody's got to go.
You gotta give the DCEU writers an empty pistol. Cause they got to go.
Oh, yeah.
They got to go. Black Manta is such a character that has so much more potential than they're really touching on. I don't know. I feel like they can do a lot more. What do you think?
I definitely see that coming in the future, because like with the way he speaks, the way he carries himself, his motivations, his goals for not only for himself but for his people as a whole. That's something I really wish they touch more on in media, like Young Justice and like in the movie. Like if they make him more like that civil rights mandated leader, like nah, my people, this is what we're doing. This is how we need to go about shit. Like I think that has a lot of potential, especially like in today's day and age, because we don't really have those loud, outspoken characters like that no more, especially in media.
Oh yeah, big time, absolutely. You know, I feel definitely Manta has that ability. It'll be a nice little tie-in to hear him and Orm going back and forth. My people, well, my people, well, my people, well, my people. You know, that'll be a really interesting, turn of it, and that'll also put Arthur in a moral standpoint too. It's like, damn, he's not wrong, but also he's not right. What am I gonna do? He's just trying to help his people. I'm just trying to help my people. Blah 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 blah. But yeah, that's Black Manta in a whole, and definitely remember, you guys, to like, comment, subscribe, and share. That's going to be it for the Super Breakdown this week. Remember to check us out on the next episode when we're going to break down everyone's favorite symbiote. This is your boy Power signing off.
This is your boy Triage. I'll catch you soon.
You are now listening to WMG Podcast, Building and Cultivating Excellence. Thank you.